I've always been a big fan of the summer solstice, especially living here in California. I've always sat outside on the evening of the summer solstice up until the last little ray of light has left the sky. Um, I've gone to the beach on occasion or just sat outside, knitting, reading, writing, whatever. It's just been a fabulous day. The winter solstice, not so much. I kind of noticed that it was there. I'd see it on the calendar. Maybe it would pop up after or before, but it never really resonated with me until I moved up here to the mountains. I've been up here about 5.5 years, so this is actually, I think, my sixth winter. And I have discovered that all the seasons here have a great deal more depth and meaning and influence on my life than they ever did before when I was living in an urban area. And the winter is especially, I don't want to say daunting, I don't want to say challenging. I want to say that it is especially interesting. Winter actually starts in the fall because fall is kind of the conduit to winter. And of course, we all know the signs of fall. The days start getting a little shorter. Animals around here, birds, there's some, then there's less. You do your last harvest. just changes, just slight and subtle changes. It's such a beautiful time of year. But by the time winter hits, winter has hit. Everything changes, everything. I think the two most notable changes that I feel up here in the mountains, in the woods, is the absolute lack of light. Of course, we have daylight, which is fine, but at night, it is beyond dark. And this, of course, is dependent on the phases of the moon. On the nights when we have a full moon, there is a strange cast on the mountain. It is almost like looking at a black and white photo. You can see everything, and you could probably walk around the mountain without any flashlight and do just fine, but it's a very strange sort of light. But before and after that full moon, as the moon is waxing and waning, disappearing, it is so dark. I have never seen a darkness like this, mainly because there's no ambient light. Nobody has porch lights on. There's obviously no street lights. There's no town nearby that would shine a light or anything like that. I mean, some areas you look up towards the sky or you look up towards the hills, and beyond you can see some light of other urban areas. Here you don't see it. It's real beautiful with the stars, but on the ground it is absolutely black. You don't go outside, at least I don't go outside without some sort of either a headlamp or a flashlight. And if I do go outside and stand on the driveway and look up the road or down the road, there is absolutely no light. The road just disappears into darkness. To be quite frank, I don't actually ever do that. I've come to the conclusion if I cannot handle a situation at night from either my front porch or my back porch, I'm not handling the situation. I don't really have a reason to go outside and wander the property when it's that dark outside. But on the rare occasions I have, it's very dark. Darkness also changes how I spend my time. I don't go out so much. I go out during the day. The other day I took a very beautiful trip down the mountain to a cute little tourist town nearby and had a great day. And I thought to myself, might be the last time I do that. Winter is coming. We're going to have more and more rain. And indeed, today we had a ton of rain. And I just won't be able to do this activity or any sort of activities like this on a regular basis like I do during the summer. Part of it is, of course, due to the weather. Last year was just outrageous. It was crazy going down the mountain to down to go shopping or to go visiting was just forget it. I think there was like a month to 6 weeks where I just did not leave the immediate area. It was just too dangerous to go down the mountain. Black ice and trees falling and mudslides. Actually, once I had to go down the mountain, I was taking somebody to their son's house so they could go see a doctor for a medical emergency, and it was one of the scariest trips I've ever taken. Even just running around the county to go to events in the evening is not something I tend to do after a certain hour here. Just getting up and down my driveway and up and down the dirt road and just getting to my house. As I say, it is absolutely pitch black and I just don't do it. And I don't hear any cars on the road outside my house also, so nobody else is doing it either. Most of this county is very rural. We have a couple relatively large towns, but outside of that, people are not running around much in the evening here in the winter. It's just dark. You just do not have, it's a very much a hibernation type feeling. And I think people just tend to do that. There's also the issue of sound or a lack of sound. In the summer, there are a lot of sounds outside. There's squirrels, there's raccoons at night, there's birds, there's a bird that chirps all night, there's all sorts of sounds, rustling in the bushes and all sorts of stuff. In the winter, there is nothing except silence. And I mean, the absolute lack of sound. There's nothing. I live fairly near a highway, and from time to time I hear cars earlier in the evening, but by this time it's about 9:30. I hear nothing. Nothing. There's nothing on the property. There's no sounds of anyone driving anywhere. There's no sounds from anyone else's homes. We all kind of live fairly apart from each other. There's absolutely no sounds. Every once in a while, I might hear a thump on the front porch or back porch, and it's the cats. I hope. And it's a beautiful time. I am really getting into the winter here. It is very cold. It is much colder up here than when I used to live at a lower elevation, and you really feel the winter. I live in this house that was a summer cabin. It's about 80 years old, and it's not insulated, and I've had my own series of issues with the cold here. I think I finally have things balanced with where I put heaters and how I warm the place and where I spend my time. And I did a video on that last year, and I've already changed everything around. I have a whole different procedure this year. Every year it's different. And eventually I hope to get siding on the house and to get, better windows put in, and that will definitely help with the heat leak. But right now it's just a matter of figuring out how to stay warm and how to stay functioning and how to use the house, what time of day, and what to do to maximize comfort and, of course, minimize cost, because I'm on electricity here. And over the years, I've figured out how to do that. And each year it gets better and it gets more comfortable here, and the cost goes down because I've figured out where to spend my time, where not to spend my time, and all sorts of things like that. So there's definitely a lot of strategy involved in managing comfort levels in the winter up here. And I'm not the only one. The number one question whenever I go to somebody's house or visit or whatever is, are you warm enough and how are you keeping warm? And there's a million and one answers, especially up in the mountains where the homes are older and not as well insulated, and much like mine, little cabins and this, that, and the other. Some people have wood heat or propane heat or monitor heaters, but I just have electric here, as I said, because my insurance company won't let me do anything else because of the fire hazards. Other folks, I guess they have stuff that's grandfathered in, like pellet stoves or whatever. But even so, keeping those things going and keeping wood cut and keeping pellet stoves filled and the expense of that still creates sometimes a little bit of a divide between what you have and what you need. So the whole concept of the winter solstice definitely resonates differently now that I'm up here, and I see the power of the night, the power of this long night, the power of winter, and how it just changes and affects everything. So the last few years, when I first decided to put some actual conscious effort into observing the solstice, I kind of treated it like a New Year's Eve thing. I thought, okay, I'm here at the longest night of the year, and I thought maybe I'll think about things I want to be and do, and then at the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, I'll do a check-in. Well, after 2 or 3 years, that was just not happening. It was too much like New Year's Eve, and it was too much like work, and it seemed to be counterproductive to everything that winter is here, the whole emotional feel, the whole natural world feel. It just felt didn't feel right, and so I kind of abandoned it. Last year I was kind of at odds with what I was going to do. I was hanging out here at the house, and I thought maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, maybe I'll have some ritual, or I'll read something, or I'll read certain things, or I'll write certain things. I was kind of, I don't want to say I was struggling, but I was trying to think of a way to just kind of commemorate the solstice. But the solstice made up its own mind. That evening of December 21st, the phone started ringing, and it did not stop ringing all evening. And I'm usually not much of a phone talker. Like, I'll text people, and if we really want have something to say to each other, I'll meet up. They'll either come here, or I'll go see them, or we'll meet at a cafe, and everyone will get their social out. And then I'm just not one to check in much on the phone. So this was highly unusual. The phone just rang all evening, and I didn't have a chance to do like candles or do anything that I thought I would do, but I was fine with it. I enjoyed talking to people, and it was just kind of unusual how that played out. What was even more unusual is how the rest of the year played out from that solstice up to the solstice coming up here. Is that in that night of communication, it opened the door to a whole year of communication. Now that I look back on it, for the last couple of years, I've kind of isolated myself for a variety of reasons. I'm fine with that, but suddenly I started like hearing from people and getting in touch with people, and the more I was getting in touch with people, the more I was talking to people, the more social I got, the more connecting I did, the more reconnecting I did. I had many conversations. Some conversations were not easy, but they needed to be said. Other conversations opened up emotions and portals to understanding people, even people I'd known for many years. There were some conversations that were quite interesting because things have shifted, and things have changed, and things maybe had changed a long time ago. I just hadn't realized it. So this would not have been possible without all this communication, and I was like communicating all year after several years of not communicating at all, and it kind of started that solstice evening with all the phone calls. And as strange and as difficult and as beautiful and as interesting as all those conversations were, I think the net sum of that was positive. I'm glad the year happened. I'm glad the conversations happened. I'm glad the revelations happened. I'm glad the reconnection happened with everybody. It was really kind of a shift. The year was a shift. So I'll be here for the solstice in my cabin in the woods, surrounded by the dark and the silence outside. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't really have plans. I have thoughts, but who knows? I'm going to let the evening write its own script. I hope wherever you are, solstice or not solstice, that the winter is treating you well, that you're warm and safe, and most of all loved. Thank you so much for watching.